Economic Development Commission meeting of August 26th. And it's, Isak, how are you? And it's just about 4:03 in the afternoon. We're in the McCloskey conference room, and I believe, in fact, I'm pretty sure this meeting has been posted, and we're meeting in accordance with open door laws. All right, so we have, I have to scroll down so I can see what we have. Let's start with just a roll call since we're relatively new. We got 4 people here. This is cool.
Hey,
so
I'm amazed we all made it.
I'm Kurt Zorn.
Vanessa McClary.
Tim Hankey.
Isak, sorry.
All right. And I think we're going to get into approval of meeting minutes. And we have a few to do. We have meeting minutes of Tuesday, March 18th. And does anybody have any comments, corrections on those?
I just have one small correction. My name is, did I miss another? Oh, that's all right. MCCLARY. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
You don't like the E in front of it? Huh?
My husband doesn't like it when he has that sound. Does that sound better?
Yeah, but isn't it clearer if there's an E in there?
Ooh, I'll tell him. I'll let him know.
No, I don't know him, so I don't want to offend him.
Clearly, that's cute.
All right. So with that one correction, do we have a motion for approving those minutes?
And we're talking about March 18th.
March 18th, yes.
Okay, I move to approve the minutes as shown in our packet on March 18th, 2025.
As amended, rather.
As amended, thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? I'm assuming no, so how about a vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That passes unanimously. So let's turn to the meeting minutes of Tuesday, May 20th. Once again, any comments, corrections?
I would like a clarification maybe. So if we attend by Zoom, does it show as commissioner present? No. It
Yes.
does. Okay,
You're
so
present
I'm,
and you can vote.
I was thinking I was Zoomed on this one, but maybe I didn't.
You absolutely were, and I don't know why your name is not on there. I'm so sorry. I will correct that, but yes, I watched that one and I did see you on there. Yeah.
So I'll move approval as shown with that amendment.
With that amendment?
There's a bunch of say your name spelled wrong and stuff like that. Just like minor typos, if it matters to you.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That is so my fault. I am so sorry.
MC.
That's what I thought.
That's okay.
And who is I assume this is me, but the Isa Kasari person there.
He's something.
Oh, yes.
And
Where's that?
First
it's
line.
right at the first line. And,
All the rest of them are correct though.
Okay.
and it refers to me as
Oh, I
president,
see, Isa.
which I'm not.
Was I
Oh,
not
I
here?
see.
I think
Yeah.
I was here.
Yeah, I felt like you were here.
I believe
know
I
what?
was
We'll
here.
correct and bring that back.
I
We don't have to do it.
100% probably put the wrong version in there because I know that I made all of these corrections. So,
Yeah, 'cause this feels like this might be a
Feels
older
rough.
meeting.
yeah. Yeah.
Kurt,
Yeah.
we can bring those back
Okay,
next
bring
time.
it
It's
back,
no,
yeah.
it's
All
not.
right, so we'll just
Yeah.
pass on this and bring these for the next.
I withdraw
So
my
sorry,
motion.
guys. I just cut and paste the wrong thing.
All
I
right.
usually wouldn't care. The only time I think this particular one matters a lot because it was
It's the
the
abatement.
assessments in case
Yeah.
Yeah.
somebody comes back.
No,
and,
absolutely.
Okay, sounds good. So we have next on our agenda, old business and update on Union at Crescent.
Yeah, Dee and I just wanted to update commissioners that
if you remember during the abatement review, we recommended a finding of non-compliance to City Council for the Union at Crescent abatement. That triggered an investigation and a public hearing process. They were ultimately found compliant, non-compliant due to reasons outside of their control. And so it was that fact of it being determined that it was outside of their control that they were allowed to retain their abatement. So that was communicated with the county, and business continues. I think the hearing itself was good to be able to
I thought so.
communicate about the issues related to the
So
property.
what were the non-compliant things outside of their control?
Their occupancy rate was low, and it was determined that that was outside of their control due to the high level of property damage because of the vulnerable population that had been living in the building. So the property had had year over year increasing challenges with just property damage and tenants, and they're serving an AMI that's like 30. It was super low. And so it's just a challenging situation. And so they had made the case that they were in this kind of reset period where they had a plan to bring the property into compliance this fall, but that a reasonable landlord couldn't have foreseen that this specific property would have experienced this specific volume of challenges. So it was a difficult and lengthy hearing, but that's where it landed, and we felt like you all would want to know that.
Thank you. And the hand department, interestingly, I mean, they recommended, like, whereas the city, and the SD and we had all said, don't pass the abatement. Hand had said they were quite concerned around long-term, ramifications of them losing it, et cetera. So, I mean, it's worth watching, but it was but ultimately we decided based on the provisions in Indiana code, right? So.
And they're in a separate compliance process with Hand regarding occupancy and the state of the property. So there's a separate kind of category of activity.
Similar to Crawford House, we probably should get used to dealing with some of these kind of problems and figure out how to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just start pulling everything away, then they go to foreclosure and
Right.
it gets uglier and worse.
Yeah, we lose those units. I think the issue that Hand was able to really, or Director of Hand, Anna Killian-Hansen, was really able to talk about was the value of on-site property management and how essential it is for the success of these properties. Mm-hmm. We know this from talking with Janine Betsy at Cambridge Square and Henderson Court, that Glick has this really successful track record because they have on-site support for tenants.
Well, it's got to be a special person.
And it has to be a special person who is, caring and technical, right?
Absolutely.
And Glick has that. Union at Crescent has not had that in the past, even though it was recommended. And then I think as part of this turnaround, they have hired someone who is on site daily. I don't know if it's 24/7, but they're there. So, but I agree. It's where we are right now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jane. So under new business, we have two things to review. One is the economic development framework, and the second one is a draft development incentives document.
Yeah. I'm really. Do you mind screen sharing for the public? I'm really excited to share this framework document with the Economic Development Commission. This is the first public stop on its tour, so it's a living document, and it is the administration's economic development framework. So the administration consulted a lot of resources and partners in putting this together, but there wasn't a huge public engagement session around it. We really felt like the groundwork had been laying, and we just needed to sort of assemble the action items. So this framework kind of highlights the big swings for the city and the Thompson administration. And then as this document lives on, the Economic and Sustainable Development Department will build out action plans under each sub-goal. So the framework starts broadly with our city values, which were established in 2024 after Mayor Thompson took office. So we want to work as co-creators with our community. We want to make sure that we're engaged with the public, that we're communicating, we're not springing surprises on people, and most importantly, that we're listening when there are challenges or needs. We want to be accountable servant leaders, and that's, again, just speaking about responsiveness in our way of engaging with the residents of Bloomington, the taxpayers, and other people. Demystified government. You can't always tell, but we don't want government to be a mystery. We want it to be accessible, and we want to make documents available. I think under accountable servant leadership and demystified government, we've really worked, and we as Office of the Mayor, but we've really worked hard to make our U reports get answered more quickly, to turn around our public information requests, to be more responsive to media so that the answers are getting out there when people have questions. And then architects of joy. We want this to be a wonderful place, and we don't want to lose the energy that we came to work with when we started in January 2024, and we want to share that with the public. So those are our values. And then these two statements, I don't know that they need to live on forever, but the economic development vision is from one of Carrie's speeches, and she talked about for Bloomington to be a prosperous, inclusive, innovation and cultural magnet where businesses can grow and thrive, all residents can access economic opportunity, and our natural world and resources are protected, treasured, and celebrated. So really kind of touching on what makes Bloomington great, and kind of the vision that we want to have for our people. And then this is our old ESD mission statement, which is fine. But maybe it's a little dated. To cultivate a resilient community built on shared prosperity, inclusive economic opportunity, environmental stewardship, and a thriving arts and culture ecosystem. ESD works to improve quality of life for all residents through dedicated service and collaboration. So on a departmental level, you can see our 3 subject matter areas are kind of triangulated here through arts, sustainability, and then economic development or business. And the goals, these are the big swings. This is what our community needs. We need to grow our workforce population. We know that Bloomington is missing a piece right now. We know that young professionals, young families are decamping to other communities where it's cheaper to live, easier for them to make it. And so we can see this in our statistics through our census numbers, but we have a shrinking population and we have an aging population. And we don't mind having Bloomington be a hotspot for retirement. We think that's wonderful, but we just need the whole life cycle to be represented here, and we need it to be balanced. And then economically, I'm sorry, this is happening again where my throat's like getting so dry. Economically speaking, that's important because workforce are the primary taxpayers. A lot of retired folks are on fixed incomes and just aren't contributing quite as much to the tax base. So we need those. We need a more robust population. So our big swing is grow the workforce population. We know we need to grow wages, that Bloomington is under the mark in this area. It's better than it had been for a long time, and I'm sorry I didn't come armed with statistics today, which was an oversight. But you know, we've really had suppressed wages in this community for a long time, largely because one of our single largest employer is a nonprofit that has been able to kind of control that market, and that's driven wages down across the board, even for private sector employers. So our large biopharma companies in years past have kind of benefited from that as well. The whole ecosystem had low wages, but when housing and everything else was cheap, it was okay. Then the pandemic hit, and we really started to see wage growth from that. The Defense Production Act really injected a lot of resources into our community, so we saw places like Catalent really driving wages up and having starting wages at $18+ an hour, and that really turned the tables for Bloomington, or started to. But now we need to keep focused on growing wages and making sure that the people who are living here are able to earn a good living. And we think the low wages is contributing to our population loss. So a lot of young people who are graduating don't feel that they can earn the type of income that they want by staying in Bloomington. So they're decamping again. And then the third one, it's not rocket science, but we want to reinforce our economic base. We want to build on sector strengths to ensure a resilient economy with a variety of workforce opportunities. Dee, can you read that paragraph?
Yeah. These goals are interdependent.
Thanks.
To accomplish them, we must leverage catalytic opportunities and make incremental progress. We will partner with the community, avoid duplication of services, and focus on the areas where the city can make the most significant impact. In all efforts, we will tell the story of Bloomington's identity as a leader in innovation, arts, sustainability, and inclusion, and seek opportunities to strengthen that identity.
So that's the big picture. Should we keep going and get into the weeds? Should we just keep reading through the document together? And okay, under grow the workforce population, contributing to those high cost of living is housing costs. We know that we don't have housing availability, and what we do have is really expensive. So we want to remove barriers to housing. We want to do that by looking closely at the city's policies and processes. So we know the policies are restrictive. ESD and the Economic Development Commission don't have control over those planning and approval processes, but this is coming up in all of our economic development circles, and so we're communicating with our partners at the city about that. And then we want to make incentives clear. This was an ask early on from this commission, and so I have been working on that incentives document forever. And of course, we sent the packet out Thursday, and 2 of those programs were nuked by the current administration on Friday. I think I had notification. So it's a changing environment. But we want to make our incentives clear, easy to access, and impactful. We want to make sure that developers know what's actually on the table, what they can get access to. Another thing, thinking through the incentives, I'm really sorry. This voice thing happened during council presentation as
You don't
well.
have to read everything. We don't have it
Yeah.
in front of us.
Well,
Well, let's talk about it.
yeah, the incentives. So it's interesting to think through the incentives because that's largely what the EDC does, is it administers tax abatements. And I think you have the ability to issue economic development revenue bonds as well. Talking with Judy Sharp, we learned that 52% of Monroe County's, 52% of Bloomington's properties are tax exempt. So when we look at our revenue, landscape abatements really are not super appealing here, since we already have such kind of compromised property tax revenue in that regard.
And another significant revenue source, Kurt, help on this, please, would be the local income tax. And that now is being redistributed. Kurt, can you help us on that?
I don't know the details of that, Tim, sorry.
It is being reconfigured, so our current local income tax stands through 2028. That's our last year. And then at that point, it shifts to a county-approved flat tax. So whether you're living in Ellettsville or you're living in Bloomington, my understanding is you're going to pay the same tax rate. And
Income tax rate.
yes.
Okay.
I'm so frustrated.
And is it true that it's distributed differently beginning then
It's distributed differently, sorry.
than it is now? My understanding, the basic is that now you pay based on where you work, and it's shifting to based on where you live.
You pay where you live now, not where you work.
It would be great if it was where you work.
Yeah. We learned, is our number for commuters in daily, it's like 16,000 people
Yes.
coming in from outside of Bloomington.
Yeah.
So that, Dee is working on another, which piece that will show up under small business, but is working on a downtown action plan with a really savvy consulting firm that has looked at different user data. And so what we're learning about the current state of Bloomington is that we have, an influx of 16,000 people during the day. And so one of the ways to grow our small business economy is to focus on what they need surrounding those times, but kind of knowing that they're not here on the weekends. Visitors are here on the weekends. It's helpful.
So, but property tax is being redistributed, correct? So that the county, I thought the county expected more local income tax and the city less.
Because the city currently has a higher tax rate, county currently has a lower tax rate.
With the tax rate, I think, Tim.
Okay.
Yep,
I didn't know.
and it's gonna
Okay.
meet in the middle, and so that's really gonna change that
Okay.
allocation. And I think, I haven't heard her talk about it in a while, but Carrie wasn't trying to make assumptions about Monroe County that we need to raise, therefore we need to raise the tax rate because we're losing it. I think she was really trying to be sensitive to who's living here and what they're earning. So I'm not sure what the county commissioners are thinking, but they'll have control over that going forward.
Kurt, you know about that, there's not a lot of wiggle room.
No, it's not.
I mean, if you wanted to raise taxes, there aren't a lot of
Yeah.
Yeah, it was capped at,
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing is, property taxes are being constrained
correct.
significantly.
Yeah.
So even if they raise the income tax rate, it's probably gonna be replacing as opposed to creating additional revenue.
Exactly. Yeah. So, grow the workforce population, that's kind of took us into the direction of local revenue because we really need workforce living here. So we know that they need housing, and we also know that they need access to childcare. So we currently lack the volume of early learning and childcare providers to support workforce population needs. We have a few precious providers in our downtown core, but I'll say, from an asset-based perspective, what we do have is an amazing team of people at Monroe Smart Start under the Community Foundation, really working to figure childcare out for our county, early learning.
So Jane, is part of that discussion talking about compensating the people that provide the childcare?
They
Because
are.
that's one of the difficulties
Yes.
to get people that want to work in that area.
Monroe Smart Start has worked, I can't quote from it, but they have a whole kind of professional development framework where they're trying to help providers basically become certified through the state paths to quality, and that means that then they can drive up, they can charge more if they're on paths to quality rather than if they're like an in-home provider, and it's safer, of course. And then at the same time, they also are working on kind of infrastructure, like a shared sub-pool was something they were working on a few years ago, so that there's stability even if you can't afford to hire, you have a staff of 5 and you can't afford to pay a full-time 6 to float on your staff, but they created a sub-pool so that providers could share certified employees. So there's a lot of capacity building work happening through that organization, and I think we just need to have this articulated as something that we need to focus on. In the past, we've had so many different pet projects coming out of this department, and it's kind of unclear how they fit into the overall structure, but we know that this is a constraint, and so I think it's really good for us to train our sites on it. And I do want to say, it isn't called childcare, it's called early learning, so I'll update our document to say that. Increase in communicating about quality of place amenities, appealing to young professionals. So we get a lot of feedback about what we're missing, and I think we also don't do a very good job about saying what we have, which is a lot. We're a really rich community, even if we're missing some of the things you can get in Indianapolis. So this is just kind of making sure that we're trying to attract the right amenities and making sure that we're communicating about them. And I think that we have marketing materials for people who are considering relocating here. And yeah, that's that. Build bridges to campus. 61% of college grads, this is a statistic from a company that should be cited, but want to stay close to where they graduate, with a new trend pointing towards smaller cities, according to Tallow. Bloomington must leverage the opportunity it has every year to build relationships with and place students in jobs near IU. So since this was written, Visit Bloomington commissioned a study with a professor out of the School of Public Health, whose name I can't remember, but they interviewed, I think they interviewed 1,600 students, and so it was statistically significant. Is that the term, Professor? So it was a statistically significant survey, and it revealed that it was like 49.5% of IU undergrads would like to stay in Bloomington, but it was 49%, and then 91.5% did not feel that Bloomington could provide what they needed. So there's a tough truth in there, but then also a really great opportunity, I think, to try to figure out how to meet that need. And so building bridges to campus, we're doing that with the CCC grant, and we honestly have really great partnership with this administration. They look for opportunities to work together. They're responsive when we ask for things, and so I think just continuing to build those relationships and find ways to get students integrated in the community while they're on campus doing their schooling. This is one of my favorites, activate nodes of distinct identity for Bloomington's key commercial neighborhoods. So this just means we need to acknowledge that Bloomington is more than campus and more than downtown. We have a lot to offer, and there are a lot of people who kind of get different things out of our community. So our first big opportunity is on the north side, surrounding Miller Showers Park. We have legislation going before council on September 30th to formally name that the Stadium District, which kind of lifts it up from a marketing perspective and gives it an identity. Underneath that name will also be the Riverfront District liquor license. So those can be three-way permits. And these are really important as a tool because they give restaurants another revenue stream. So the restaurant industry is really hard right now. It's really, really tough for our local players to survive in the current market conditions. Fast casual businesses that are making it happen are making huge investments in technology. So having something like a three-way permit that can be eligible just for county headquartered businesses gives them a leg up, and then that kind of like really drives our ecosystem in the way that we want it to go. So we're pretty excited about that legislation. And then D is also working on gathering east and west side business groups to try to really foster community in those parts of town as well. Holly, our assistant director for the arts, is thinking very far ahead in the future about what other nodes would be great for public art placements. We really have focused on this downtown corridor, and we are currently focused on it along the Beeline Trail from Switchyard through the Hopewell, the new convention center, all the way up through the Stadium District. And that's right for right now, but when we think forward into the future, I think it is exciting to think about what these other parts of the community might like to see. Along those lines, we want to become the center for creativity in Indiana. Bloomington is already known as the Center for the Arts, but retaining this mantle requires a dedicated effort. Creativity should inform our community at all levels, helping make sure we grow a creative economy of the future, as well as supporting practicing artists and destination tourism today. So just really making sure that we have the ability to retain working artists, give them professional development opportunities, have there be affordable studio space. With our changing economy in the last 20 years, with cheap real estate no longer existing, it's just been really hard for working artists to live here. But it is a unique attribute of Bloomington and something that we can leverage for our destination tourism. And then we think it can also fold into our innovation economy work and thinking about how, like, what are the creative economy jobs that can kind of fold into this other area, and what are the sector or cluster strengths that we'd like to see. So thinking about like marketing firms or consulting and design firms, just the other ways that these can be mutually supportive. And yeah, okay, grow wages, tell our story. This action item grew out of a 2016 wage growth Hamilton Administration Wage Growth Task Force. They had a number of items on their list, and this one they didn't ever get to. And I think when Carrie came in office, we thought, we really need to figure out who we are so that we can tell other people. And so Office of the Mayor has engaged with a company called Civic Brand, and they just presented all the data last week that they've been capturing for about 6 months. And in late October, I think they're going to release some of this to the public. So it'll be the city's new brand strategy, which is really, again, it's less about like a logo and making us look cool and more about really just distilling our identity and kind of helping us understand who we actually are. Bloomington, it's like a tale of 3 or 4 cities. And so sometimes I think it's hard to find the line. So that's exciting. Target attraction of businesses in high demand, high wage sectors. This is really happening in partnership with the Dimension Mill, the Mill and the Forge, really working to drive business attraction in Bloomington. I know we put advanced services here, but because we have such constrained real estate, the model of looking for manufacturing jobs that are going to magically fit in Bloomington, especially with our UDO constraints, that's fiction. It's not going to happen. So we really need to be focused on the economy of the future and what are the types of services and employers that can operate in office space. How can we attract a small office of a large tech company, for example? That's one of the big swings that the Mill is taking right now. So we feel really optimistic about it with the Mill kind of leading the charge and the support of the Lilly Foundation and IU underneath that. Sorry, I should explain that. IU is working with the Mill as part of the CCC grant to attract alumni with startups who might like to relocate here. So there's just a lot of support coming together around these areas. Grow business and attract workforce to support those sectors. So this is again looking at what do we need in order to have businesses in high demand, high wage sectors be actually supported and be able to have our own ecosystem support them. It gives some examples. But I'd say this is like a secondary goal. It will happen, but numbers 1 and 2 will happen first. Any questions on that section?
Lots of thoughts.
Fire. This is a living document.
I've maybe had a little more time to think about it because we talked about it, but I think this is such a great start, and very excited about the next step, which is tactics, and I think that the way when I read this, the thing that I'm immediately like, okay, what I really can't wait to see in this document or the next document or whatever is, and I've written it down the way that I would like it to be seen: fixed permitting. Like this, right? And then this is how we will know that we did it, because all permits will be decided by this world-class benchmark, right? Use tax incentives in this way, in this way, in this way, and XYZ is how we'll know that this worked. Attract this many companies that look like this, and like this, right? And then I think there's also an element of like helping us identify tools and resources that we're missing, and I'm saying tools in a very broad way here, but like when you're talking about and this particularly to our current context, and I think we have to start in this process changing the way that we talk about things like the UDO. We need to start talking about it as our current UDO, because so that we're all in the mindset of this needs to continue to change and get better. But simple things like a ombudsman for the UDO is like a project that we could, a guidebook for the UDO, like those type of identifying things that we just are just missing in our community to make some of these things work.
Ombudsman's a great idea.
Exactly right. I mean, a chatbot we talked about. Like there's like things
I
that.
need to follow up with you on
Yeah,
that.
and I have follow up for that with you, but like so I really think like if we could then develop a list of, which goes together with tactics, but it's just like here are the list of projects that particularly the Economic and Sustainable Development, ESD, is working on, but then it's like, and other people can join in. It's like, oh, hey, I could help with a chatbot, right? If I had a list of needs, I'm like, oh, I could do that, right? I could produce that. I could get my students to do that, right? So I think giving us that, and so I think that the only, from at this stage, the only thing that to me, and again, I've had a little bit more time to think about it, but the only thing that I, in thinking about it, that I think is missing from this is that I think we would all agree on these goals. I think it resonates with me. I'm like, yes, exactly. Thank you for saying it and making it very clear. Like, these are the things we're focused on, and not all these other things we could be focusing on. But I think that what missing here is a little bit of rallying, because I still feel like if I'm just a person in the community who could be a participant here, I'm like, okay, what do I do about that? Right? Like it's like, sure,
So
you know.
do you think the rallying is in like that we're missing certain actions or the language that we're using, or do you think that's just easier to do when we have some actions we're asking about?
I think it's a little bit of all of that. I was trying to contrast this with IU 2030 plan, right? I think that one of the strengths of the IU 2030 plan is that as a faculty member, I'm like, okay, I can judge my actions. Anything that I do, I'm like, does this do this? Does this do this? Does this do this? And so I maybe, I don't know how we get there quite with this, in the sense of you want to connect somebody at the mill, for example, to say, oh, we're interested in getting more alums. Okay, if I get alums, therefore there's some type of outcome. You see what I'm saying? Because otherwise it's like they're just passive. They're passive recipients of ESD's actions,
So I
right?
think this document is just a framework, and it is the first
Right.
step.
And so I think the parts that you are excited about, I'm also very excited
yes,
about,
yes.
and our department is too,
Exactly.
I have to say.
Exactly.
And so each number will have an action plan that comes out of it. And I hope that to be, like you said, it should have metrics so we can determine whether we're being successful, but I hope it's pretty light on text, honestly. Like, I hope it's
exactly.
just, this is what we need to do.
Exactly. We will fix permitting. We will fix permitting by this, and it's just like a list. It's A, B, C. Like, you know.
Fix it. And then Tim had mentioned something about AI earlier, and I heard that in ESOC's response too. I wondered if that's the right
I was going to
time.
get to that on the incentive.
Okay. Yeah.
But if I could comment too, and I'd love to hear what you guys think. I mean, I definitely agree with what ESOC's saying. Just a couple of things that come to my mind. I think it's useful if we could review what you say you learned from the census data. I wonder if you have access to the school board study that they did. Because it's a big study, and it zeroes in on losing, 25 to 35-year-olds. So it's my understanding. Anyway, it's public paid for. We should have access.
Yeah.
But I would reinforce that, because being more targeted helps you choose what program should be your priorities.
Yeah.
My belief is that our community's going to change in the next couple of years on housing expenses for singles, because we built 7,000 bedrooms in the last 3 years.
And then those costs are gonna go down.
And there's
I
a couple
agree.
thousand more coming. And some of the things that have happened to UDO have been supportive of that as well. But that's not the 25 to 35-year-olds that don't want to live in a student complex. So again, it helps you focus on where we need to do the work.
Yeah.
And then along the same lines, I think grow wages, item 2, target attraction of businesses, high demand, high wage sectors. Everybody wants to do that, you know? It's really hard. I think our advantage is, earlier in your data, that students would like to stay here. So in my view, and a lot of this is personal experience too, that's, just one off, but a young person could go to work for a startup out of college and be pretty happy. But then they get to a point where they can't buy a house, or their partner can't find the right housing, and then by then they've developed some skills and they're attractive to every other community, and we lose them. So in my view, I wouldn't focus on targeting businesses, which BEDC has not really, they've struggled, okay, because everybody's trying to do it. But we have this mill of minds that come through here every year. So I think,
You're saying business growth rather than business attraction.
I think make it easy for small business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small, if my business can grow incrementally, I could hire somebody out of school and then et cetera. But anyway, that's just my feeling on those subjects.
I think that is all spot on, and I think a lot of that, again, is being driven by our partners at the mill who, the city makes major investments, specifically the RDC has made so many major investments in the Trades District and in the mill. Our department funds $175,000 annually in program funding that does help people start up and scale up, and it helps with some professional development work as well. And then the Redevelopment Commission funds the Trades District Partnership Agreement, and that agreement sort of facilitates the mill taking on that piece of all of our economic development. So they're really focused on leveraging, I'm just trying to talk about what's unique for us. So I think you're on it with the students, and then there's also this relationship to Crane with defense tech and cybersecurity that's happening there, and the I-69 connection all the way up to Fishers. So they're really focusing on building relationships in this entire corridor, and I think it could be helpful to have them, and it will happen in the action items, but paint a clearer picture for us about what they're doing.
Yeah, and that is good stuff, and I think there's a pretty good understanding of that. But in addition to that, I'll give you an example. I know of a retail business that sells product and provides a service as well. They wanted to double in size, and they would have had to hire people, okay? When they came to the city, they found out that they had to reconfigure their parking lot, they had to re-landscape. Anyway, it was about a $100,000 bill above and beyond what they expected, and therefore they didn't do it.
Same, yeah, I mean, I had this conversation with a business earlier today that's evaluating the high cost of expansion.
Yeah, somehow we have to make it less onerous to make an improvement. An improvement, somehow there should be a way to judge, is that an improvement? And therefore, yes, make that improvement.
Exactly.
It may not be what our rule says, that the sidewalk is 62 inches wide.
Yeah.
Because it's,
But I feel like that point overlaps something we've talked about a lot in this group, and that's that connection between the tools and incentives, and like clearly saying, you know what, if you're we need a veterinary hospital. If you're gonna build a veterinary hospital, we have already pre-approved a thing, like, as an example, like that type of approach.
that is a good example,
It's a perfect example that actually we have a great example of it not working, right? And somebody wanted to put one in Hopewell and they couldn't figure it out for the same reasons. But like where we go, hey, like you want to do a thing?
Yeah.
Here's what's available to you because we want this thing. Like, like Trader Joe's, if you come here, we will give you a tax incentive. Like, right? Like, maybe that's not exactly the space you want to be in, but something like that, I think, is really, really.
Yeah, I would love to get Kurt and Vanessa's feedback.
And also that might be a good segue to that incentives sheet too, because I think part of what's interesting about this conversation, I just love to have all of your big brains thinking through this together. It's really supportive and helpful. But then there are the pieces that, like, what are the pieces that this commission controls?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
there end up being like relatively few, but we can look at those in a minute. So do you have any?
I just want to say this is all way too complicated. I like having something already, a model that is already put forth. Because I think everything we try to do is complicated. That example was, I didn't know about it, but that's terrible. that they were caught up in the parking lot, the expansion with their landscaping, to do something they need to do with their business. So I don't know what space that is for us to make that all easier, but I think
Yeah.
that's what we need to
Yeah.
figure out.
Yeah.
I'd sort of piggyback on what Vanessa says. I have no quibble with any of these strategies. I mean, they all make sense. And I think Isaac's already said this too, maybe Tim, maybe what we need to do is focus on things that we know are not working and are broken in the short run to get this started.
Yeah, so.
And then have a vision of where we want to be 5-10 years down the road. Because there are things, Tim points them out all the time.
Right.
We've
Right.
heard about them here, things that are broken, we know are broken.
Right.
And we can fix
Right.
if we all agree we want to do economic development.
Yeah.
And right now, we keep on tripping over ourselves.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
For example, how are we attracting workforce when we can't approve home building or
Exactly.
new developments for them to
Exactly.
live in.
Exactly.
So it's just the bottleneck. It's just like pushed slightly down, but not addressed.
I will say though, to the question of what we can do also, I mean, and I speak for myself and I will say it as though I'm speaking for everybody, so and then they can say otherwise, but I would be very happy to volunteer so much time to let's write the next bit. Let's, let's get, so that, because I think what's great about this group is that we're hyper-focused, right? And so we may not control the, tool X or Y or Z, but we can certainly, we want to support in, pushing this forward. So certainly use us in that way.
Yeah.
See, let me ask you what may be a sensitive question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but and this may be unpopular, but at least from my observations over the last couple decades, one of the places where the rub comes is you have a mayor or an administration that wants to do some things, and we get to the common council and they have different ideas. How do we get people thinking the same way? And I'm not talking about any individuals per
Totally,
se,
totally.
but this is
and-
something I've observed and has frustrated me over
Exactly,
time.
and you know that my theme of conversation has always been along these lines, and which is why I'm so thankful for something like this, because it helps to start. If we all say the same things again and again, it helps to sort of bring people onto the same stage. I think that we're currently in a state where I think most of the council is, even those who might be. What do you call it? Skeptic of economic development skeptics, let's say, something like that, are very reasonable. They just want to have the conversations, right, and really think about the trade-offs and all of those type of things. But I think what's been lacking up until this point is this part that we all said we're so excited about, is that next step, because you have two people go, yeah, we should grow wages. They mean totally different things when they say that. And so when we can get to the state of just saying, and the way we do that is A, B, and C, I think that's going to help things move really quickly. And you look at housing as a good example. The fact that every single person almost said the number one priority is housing, and then we get the biggest housing development ever put before us, and we're like, ooh, this is too much housing, right? Sort of shows sometimes there's just a little bit of disconnect. But so this is what I think is needed, is just helping us organize our strategy.
I wonder about more regular visits during the mayor's updates, just on small, maybe on sub goals or on like doing a better explainer on the population.
Yes.
What's happening with population.
I don't think that's widely known. That's one of the reasons I asked for that data.
I agree.
Because
You don't think they know?
I think a lot of the
Or
public
is
doesn't. The
contested,
school
right?
system knows, because it hit them right in the gut.
Yes.
Right.
Well,
And it's getting worse.
and I think that's something that I would like to have show up. I'm not sure how, but we need to lift up our school system in our efforts. And we need to also make sure, I think, that our efforts are not inadvertently harming them. And that could that can come up, like if we were issuing tons of tax abatements, I think
Yeah.
that would be.
Yeah.
But I had a tough conversation with the administration when we were recommending approval of the pilots. I contacted them and explained how much this would reduce their annual revenue during the life of the pilot, and you really have to be standing up for a project to want to
make
do that.
happen.
So I think that they also need to show up in here somehow.
One other thing that, and I don't know how we get to this stage, but it would feel like eventually it would be something that this commission would control, is some other cities in Indiana and across the states have adopted this like menu of options thing for people who want to do business in a city. So you're like, if you build a fire station, like you want this thing, here are 5 choices. Choose any from list A, 2 from list B, and 1 from list C, and that sort of gives you this combination. Where we've been very like, it's jobs, and we have like a very set criteria. I think it would be really interesting to explore, how you might market the tools to people and put some agency in their hands, right? To say, these are the things that we want to see in the community, and so here's your list of options, and maybe every year that changes or something like that.
Can we look at we're almost at an hour, but can we look at this other document? Yes. So this document, can you just scroll through and show? So it's local, state, and federal, and it is very much a living document. The things that I think are going to grow. So obviously EDC, we have a tax abatement pilot. We have economic development revenue bonds that I think we can also approve. There are a lot of RDC in hand incentives. But what I'm kind of learning is that the qualification for each of these is so narrow. I'm not sure how to thread the needle to make sure that people aren't applying for things they don't even qualify for. Mm-hmm. But the other takeaway is, well, there's a lot there actually. Mm-hmm. And then if you scroll down to federal, well, actually stay there. So the bottom line of that page is IFA, Residential Infrastructure, Housing Infrastructure Assistance Fund. It's called the RIF. Yeah. And this is a state IFA program to support utility infrastructure. And I think this program, well, Kurt, you might know more than I do, but I think this program will grow. I know the Braun administration supports it. Mm-hmm. The challenge is that it's only in year 2, I think, and
it's really focused on more rural communities too.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, so you gotta be a little careful.
Okay.
I mean, there are parts of it for communities like Bloomington larger, but more than 50% goes to the smaller communities.
Yeah, but we're happy to fight for the 50% that we are eligible for.
We definitely should.
But the challenge, I think, for Bloomington has been that we have to back the bonds with TIF, right. And so that ends up being challenging. So I don't know. When the lieutenant governor was here last week, I asked some questions about this fund, and it sounds like they think that there could be the possibility of expanding it to being solely developer-backed, more like an economic development revenue bond. So I don't know if that works from your perch, but I think that's a growth.
We haven't had any discussions about that.
I'm curious how the rural communities are getting it done if they don't have TIF, or maybe there are different projects or products too.
I couldn't tell you. I just know that there are lots of communities involved in this program.
So I think that's a good one for us to get kind of savvy about. And then if you scroll down, Dee, I'll just highlight what I think is the main opportunity is in opportunity zones going forward, and new markets tax credits. So the big beautiful bill made both opportunity zones and new markets tax credits permanent. They're complicated to access. On the front end, they require a lot of administrative work, but we're working. I don't think I can say too much about it publicly, but we're just really working on figuring out how to tap into the infrastructure of opportunity zones to make it really easy for people to invest in our community. So we're looking at the current census tracts that are approved, Hopewell's in it, and then we're looking at what we might be able to add or shift going forward. And those act as a shelter against capital gains, basically. So if you invest in an opportunity zone and then earn revenue. You can invest that in an opportunity fund and it's protected. It's like a double investment.
Yeah.
And in the past, it had to be real estate investment, and I believe in the bill going forward, in the big beautiful bill, there is a small business component to it. So you wouldn't have to own the property, but if you are operating a business and making personal property investments,
That's great.
you could have that shelter as
exciting.
well. So I think those are the growth areas, and then I think that this can be cleaned up and posted on our website at any.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The blueprint, are these links to?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this, do we have this electronically?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's in the agenda that we
Right,
sent.
right, okay.
And I will say, the state killed the redevelopment tax credit. It dies on Friday, and so does the historic redevelopment tax credit. Historic rehabilitation tax credit. Those both go away for until end of 2026. I think IEDC is just reevaluating.
Yeah, they may come back if the fiscal state of the state improves.
Yes. But this information, I think it can be communicated better than in a Word document. This was just kind of the first step. And I think the city is part of its branding. We're also redoing our website to make it more focused on user experience rather than governmental structure, which is not particularly friendly. And so I think there's a place in the new website that will be developed in 2026 for this information to live, that will be focused on development.
So the interesting thing about this list is it's good for a outward-facing document for people that might want to do something here in the city. But it's also good as an internal document, because I'll just give the one example, the State Revolving Fund for Wastewater and Drinking Water Infrastructure. I'm on the IFA board, and I had somebody ask me why Bloomington's never participated in that a year ago. And I was unaware that we had not. I just assumed we were, because it's so good.
Right.
And I think that CBU is now beginning to look into that program. If they are, and I hope they are.
Yeah.
Because it's a very successful program in terms of providing low-cost
Fluoride?
financing. What's that?
Can they do fluoride?
If it's drinking water, I'm
Yeah.
assuming it can
I
be.
mean, why would, that's a perfect example. We've been 3 or 4 years without fluoride because it's broken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a place to get some low-cost financing.
So, if you clicked on these links, what are you typically going to find?
You should go to, if it's a state or federal link, you should go to that resource and it'll explain the program. If it's a local resource, it should take you right to the application.
I mean, it's just a perfect application for AI. I don't know if anybody's done
Yeah,
this.
tell us.
Well, it wouldn't be that much to download the information and the links into an AI tool and then just ask it questions.
Yeah. Well, that's a really great, ESOC has an army of students that can do this. And when I was telling him about some of our procurement woes in our department, just, ironing out all the different regulations, he said, well, we had a team of students that made a DoD procurement chatbot. So I think that this is it's like building bridges to campus,
Yeah.
solving an efficiency problem, solving a communications problem.
So I think you probably know. I mean, I would try something like Gemini or
Yeah,
Notebook
totally.
LM
Totally.
and put all these things in Notebook LM and then say, I'm building 3 houses, which
Yeah.
incentives might work or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, so the intention is to do that this semester.
This is a good start.
Well, maybe we do it on incentives before procurement too. I don't know.
Or UDO, I think there's a lot of things you can do, but
Yeah.
on the basis of, here's a huge bit of text, look through this and help me make strategic
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's remarkable how well it works. Yeah, it's exciting.
Well, one thing also missing, and I know we're at time, but the business licensing, where does this? Okay, cool. Yeah, because where does that fall in here? Like the
It doesn't,
you know,
that's just
No.
a requirement.
And these are actual incentives. Oh, do you mean on where does it live in the economic development document?
well, yeah, because isn't that a tool that is also there? Like, I mean, allowing people to sell and buy stuff, permits, liquor licenses, like those type of things that the city may at some point.
Like if we market those as an incentive instead of
Right.
think of them as
Yeah.
a regulation.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because I thought about that too, like when we were talking about closing Kirkwood as an example, like was there a way to do like rapid, you want to do you want to sell hot dogs on Kirkwood, like, and we want people to do stuff on Kirkwood, so we have a rapid way of selling hot dogs on Kirkwood, as an example, right? And I don't know where that sits, but
Yeah, I mean, I am actually working with Public Works on the special event permits and some of the
Certain
ordinance
public-
stuff
yeah,
and how
yeah.
we do that process, because it can get kind of beleaguered by agendas and all of that. So we're gonna be working on that at the end of the year to make it easier for these smaller vendors this is their road to a brick and mortar, is that.
Exactly.
So trying to
Exactly.
figure out how to make those things happen,
Yeah.
yeah. So that is definitely in the hopper. It's a
Right.
ways, but it's in the hopper
Right.
for sure.
But I think that's somewhere in this strategy too. It's like when we're thinking, to your point about not just attracting business, but growing current businesses. Like what are, we saw this with the grease trap changes, for example.
that's
like
a
that,
really good example.
right?
Yeah.
Like that helps make it easier for small, places to. So I think if part of maybe our strategy is also identifying barriers to small business growth within town.
Yeah, I think that's a direct quote. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, that's,
This is so rock star.
well,
You guys want to see pictures of my
Teamwork.
baby?
you seem relatively well rested.
She's fantastic. I mean, she's
Are we
sleeping.
finished with our business?
We are finished with our
I want to see it. Let's see if we can
We don't want it on the minutes.
possibly adjourn the meeting before.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I don't know what the action item is. I just wanted to share, get your
It's
feedback, and
information
I'll
sharing, so.
keep doing it. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Anything else for the good of the cause?
I would say feel free to reach out to us individually or
Yes,
together and
yes.
whatever between meetings, because
Yes,
this is
100%.
obviously periodic.
It's the most exciting thing ever.
Well, I don't know what that.
It's pretty exciting.
within
Pretty
the
exciting.
realm
This
of
is the
economic
first
development
There we go.
and this commission.
All right, hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, now,
Now we want
All
to see
right, come on,
pictures.
come
Show
see
us
these
that
pictures.
baby.